Take 9, what's up everybody? Welcome back. This is part 2 of the Oilers off-season video series I'm doing where I'm just going to kind of give my opinions on videos. I wanted to have this video up earlier this week, but if I'm being honest, this is my last week before online school for me starts. I've chosen to do online schooling over going back, and my school program doesn't start until this week, so the reason I haven't made this is because I was trying to just have as much relaxation as I could in my last week of freedom. So here we are, though. Here to make the video. And let's talk about the goaltending situation for the Edmonton Oilers. Let's talk about let's just kind of give a bit of a breakdown on how it went throughout the season, talk about some of the names available. I don't know how long this video will be. This is just a rambling video, like all my videos are. Make sure, and by the way, this is just my friendly reminder, make sure you hit subscribe if you are intrigued by the content I'm making. Make sure you also hit the like button, and also leave a comment down below. I normally tend to respond to comments most of the time anyway, so let's have a bit of a discussion, especially if you disagree with maybe some of the things I'm saying in this video. If you have an argument, whatever it is, leave a comment down below. Now, the Oilers' goaltending situation is really interesting. This year, going into the season, we had Koskinen locked up for 3 years at $4.5, and we had Mike Smith locked up for that season at $2 million. Mike Smith, if I'm not mistaken, started game 1. And, throughout the year, we got goaltending play that was salvageable. When you have Draisaitl and McDavid putting all the pucks in the back of the net, the goaltending is feasible. It does work. So, throughout the year, ups and downs, the tendencies of up and down goaltending. By the end of the year, or the end of the quarantine-edited season, so say, both Koskinen and Smith ended up playing the same amount of games, Koskinen being the better goaltender. Then going into this playoff structure, there was a lot of questions, and after the exhibition game where Mike Smith allowed a goal, he did look at some points really shaky. Koskinen played very solid and that was in the exhibition game against Calgary. He didn't allow a goal. Mike Smith got the start for game 1 and got absolutely shelled, and I'm so sorry for this man. I'm so incredibly sorry that man had to go through that much. Honestly, credit Smith. Hate Smith all you want. I feel bad for him because I don't think he should have started that game. And also, after he allowed 3 goals in 10 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, 3 goals early. Anyway, it was not a good night for him. I personally was watching that game, and I thought after the 3rd goal, he should have been yoinked. After the 4th goal, I was like, how has he not been pulled? And after the 5th goal, I'm like, finally, geez. It took him that long to pull it. That was a mistake by Tippett, because honestly, we saw what happened in the play-in round when a goalie got pulled. I'm not saying the Oilers could have came back, but if you think about it this way, if Koskinen is put in after that 3rd goal, or even that 4th goal, and then the Oilers still go on to score, maybe the Blackhawks offense is limited, we could have been talking about a whole different game. Completely different game when it comes to how we look back on that game 1. The Oilers could have even won that possibly and then went on to the playoffs. We will never know because Dave Tippett didn't pull the trigger when he should have in this situation. Now, up next in the 3 games following, Koskinen started, and a lot of people gave him hate. Personally, I don't know how much of the hate on Koskinen is warranted. I really don't. I'm not saying he was an all-star, but when you look at how much the defense in front of him tried to do the whole defense thing, man, oh man, I don't know how much you can blame him. If I'm like, a third of the goals Chicago scored were deflected off of Oilers players. The forward core, everybody but Draisaitl and McDavid, I would even argue Nuge is not, Draisaitl and McDavid showed up. I don't even know if you can say Nuge fully showed up. He did not look the loudest I've seen Nuge. So, really, 2 guys on this team showed up in McDavid and Draisaitl when it came to offense. The defense did not perform well. Koskinen was put into a really rough situation. in that series, which is why I feel like the criticism is unwarranted. Because, man, when you're in the situation he's in, you don't deserve the blame. You don't deserve to have to take blame for that. So, yes, at the end of the day, we were eliminated, and Koskinen got blame, and immediately rumors started up. We gotta go get a new starting goalie. Now, from off the bat, with the whole we have to get a new starting goalie talk, I found that really stupid, and I'll tell you why. Because nobody I feel like now people have started to realize it more. Mikko Koskinen is locked up for this next season and the year after, till the year 2022, at $4.5 million per year. It's not easy to go and add an elite goalie when you're paying that in net. And unless you're Montreal, in which they have nobody that they're paying up front and still have a good team, and they're willing to spend $14 million in goaltending, it's probably not a good idea to do that. It might not be the best idea to go out there and invest money, high-level money, into goaltending when you already are paying somebody $4.5. So at the end of the day, we look at what happened this year. We look at the play of both goalies. What do I think the Oilers should do? First off, no matter what happens, we let Mike Smith go. I love Mike Smith. He was so good 10 years ago. And he's just the fun veteran you got. I don't know how good of a locker room presence he is. But I imagine him having, a lot of success under his belt, even if it's no cups. But, that conference final run, him being a long-tenured goalie, a veteran, must be a lot of respect for him in that locker room. It's clear Dave Tippett loves him. But he wasn't good, man. He wasn't good. And they over-relied on him when he wasn't good. You can argue that with him starting game 1, that might have cost the Oilers the series. And I hate saying this about Mike Smith, but we should not be relying on him in a 1A, 1B role. We can't do that. We really, really can't do that. So, I don't think Mike Smith should come back, especially with the goaltending in its current state. And I just feel like, his skills are probably better suited somewhere else. Who knows? I imagine he wants to keep playing. Just judging off of the tenure of goalies, I imagine he might still want to play for another 1 or 2 years. If he wants to go retire, he wants to go retire. I don't bring him back if I'm Edmonton. I let him walk to free agency. Which brings me to Mikko Koskinen, who I've just given a lot of praise to. There are 2 ways I would like to see the Mikko Koskinen situation go. And the thing about the goaltending is, the decision with Mikko Koskinen, that is what the rest of the goaltending decisions will revolve around. 2 things, in my opinion, should happen. Or one of 2 things, sorry. Either A, you keep Mikko Koskinen and go with a cheaper 1A, 1B option, a goalie that's wanting less than $3.5 million a year, maybe, and then just, because even it is expensive if you're paying $7.5 for goaltending. That being said, if it's a 1A, 1B situation, I think it's more respectable than saying, hey, $6 million contract with $4.5 behind. That being said, option 2, trade Koskinen and go get a starting goalie. Now, in my opinion, option 1 is definitely the more realistic situation here, because Mikko Koskinen is making, like I said, $4.5 million. That's not going to be easy to move. And honestly, there are times where you throw a sweetener in to get rid of a contract. If nobody will take Mikko Koskinen without a, sweetener thrown in, if it's a minor sweetener, of course. If it's like a 4th round pick for a 6, if you move back 2 rounds to end up getting rid of Koskinen's contract, maybe. But if you have to give up like a solid piece or a solid prospect to get rid of Koskinen, I think you can bite the bullet on that and keep him, because honestly, he hasn't been horrible. And I think that, if you put him into more of a 1A, 1B role, he's good. Look at what happened with Edmonton over the past couple of years with him in net. when he was in a role where he was relied on to play a ton of games in year one with the team back in 18-19, he's not going to be the best goalie. If you put him in a situation like he was this year where he's splitting games, it's clear that with less time in the crease, he's going to be better for you. And I feel like it's Cam Talbot syndrome in a way, you know? Because he was played less, he did better because he was not playing every single game with no option behind him. That being said, if they do trade him, you know, if you want to go splurge, get a really good goalie, really good number one, and then just go with a cheap number two, sure. But I personally think at the end of the day, the smart move to make, the realistic move that they're going to make, is probably keeping Mikko, dropping Mike, and bringing in another goalie who can play games and take some weight off of the shoulders of Mikko Koskinen. If they can trade Koskinen, great. Do whatever you want. Just get me two goalies who can play hockey or play goalie, because they're not really shooting the puck and trying to score goals, but still get me two goalies that can play hockey in the goaltending position, and that's fine. But I don't think that they're going to get rid of him. So when you're looking at the tier of goalie we're going for, when you think about, okay, and by the way, from this point, I'm talking about strategically and solely going for a backup, because we know the names if we're talking about a starter. If we're talking about a starting goalie, we're talking about Braden Holtby, who is probably not worth giving a big contract to. We're talking about Jacob Markstrom, who is good, and I will say he's good, but I don't know if I feel so happy about paying a guy that has had that one breakout and has been okay through his rest of his tenure, but has had one breakout year, $6.5 million long term. I don't know how I feel about, you know, paying any goalie long term, especially after the Bobrovsky contract. I know it's a different situation, but still, and I also feel like it's risky to try and bring the main pieces of your team in through free agency. That's just how I feel. When we're talking about a backup that could be brought in, oh, and Robin Lehner is another name. Yeah, Robin Lehner is staying in Vegas, in my opinion. There's apparently already contract crafted. I think that that's probably going to end up sticking. There's a few names you could go with. I'm on Cap Friendly. I have it sorted by goalies who are free agents, and we are sorted by games here. So this is the 33 goalies that have played NHL games. Some have played none. We're going to go off the ones that have actually played solid amounts of games. And I'm looking for guys who could be cheap, maybe $1 million, $2 million, probably more like $3 million, but I can dream. The first name that catches my mind, Aaron Dell is here. Thomas Greiss, Anton Khudobin, Cam Talbot. I mean, in my mind, I would love to see the Oilers. I think out of those names, the name I would like to see the most, and I think the most realistic name, probably Greiss or Khudobin. I think either of them would be fairly good members of the Oilers, I think. You know, say what you want about either men, they're maybe getting a little bit up there. Anton Khudobin's played great, and I think that that's going to be a main reason why we can't get him. Thomas Greiss could be easily snaggable depending on, because we know the Islanders are going to have to go into a cap crunch. So I think the optimal situation for this team, I don't want this ramble to go on too much longer. Here's what I believe the Oilers will do with their goaltending. It's a TLDR at the end of this video, like I did in the draft video. Mike Smith gone. Keep Mikko unless you can trade him without giving up a valuable asset to get rid of the contract. And sign in a 1B goalie looking for no more than $3.5 million, I'll say, to be nice. That is it for the goaltending video. Really, it's as simple as that. I just dragged on that 14 minutes. The next video will be about defense. Following one will be about forwards. I don't know when that's going to come. It's very, very inconvenient, the timing of both the draft and of free agency, because they're both on weekdays. And believe it or not, shocker of all shockers, school is on weekdays. So, you know, free agency, I'm probably going to have to turn my webcam off on my computer here and put free agency on the TV. I think round one of the draft we can get away with. And as a matter of fact, I am thinking that for the draft, on night one, I will do a live stream, even though it's going to be on a Monday or Tuesday night. Night 1 of the draft, I will do a live stream on, just to see who the Oilers get with the number 1 overall, their 14th overall pick, sorry, in the first round, and see what else happens. There could be some moves there. Who knows? And yeah, that's it. Thank you all for watching this video. I will see you all on the next one. Goodbye for now.